Hi, everyone. We're back. We're going to talk today about that scary word you've probably heard, governance, or the one you like, which you think means order. Now, in family companies, usually one person starts it. And sometimes it's both mom and dad, but it can be either mom or dad, and one steps out. And you have centralized decision making. My business ran the way I wanted it to run. Leslie's business ran the way that she wanted it to run. But because we love our kids, we decide to give often equal ownership or equal roles in the company to them. And it goes from one to many. And that's where decision making gets tricky. And that's the start of governance. How do we decide things together? So, Leslie, you've been working with families for a while, and you've come up with a tool called the decision making matrix. You want to talk about how that's helpful?
Sure. And I think you're making a really important point, which is governance really is decision making. It's how we govern, and families have governance, whether they know it or not, because they have a system of making decisions.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mom plans family vacations. We all know it. That's our governance for vacations.
Right.
Dad says who gets to work in the business.
Right. So part of this is really getting clarity about boundaries, and boundaries is a key word in family work. And it's boundaries around what are the responsibilities and the authority that one person has versus another. And many times in family businesses, people come in to the business without clarity about what their role is, what their authority is, and then that makes for a lot of tension and conflict. And what we want to do is to minimize unnecessary conflict and to really have clarity about the roles that people play and the authority that they have. So the notion of a decision matrix is that we write down all the decisions that need to be made by a family and business. And I have one client that has literally taken this to an extreme, and they've grown their company to be over several countries. And in that business, they have a decision matrix that says what every decision has to be made, from who buys what supplies and has the authority at what financial budget, to who decides whether they're going to make an acquisition or divestiture. And so you can take this to a real extreme, but they have real clarity, and every person in the company knows what they can make a decision about, and it gives them a lot of reassurance.
Not only reassurance, it sounds like it enables effective delegation, checks and balances, and no one taking it personally when I thought I could make the decision, but it's actually your decision.
Right. And so by taking something that's covert or not clear to overt and explicit really does help an organization work effectively.
Yeah, and if you think about your family, remember your time you brought your first partner home and you said, do say this, don't say that. That's still happening in your family. It's also happening in your business. We call them unwritten rules. So when Leslie said unnecessary conflict, our unwritten rules, who knows them, who agrees to them, are the things we just want to take out of the way for you.
Right. So by listing all of the decisions that need to be made on one axis of a matrix, then we, across the other one, list all of the roles. So everything from the CEO, or actually we start with owners. What decision do owners make? So there may be certain decisions such as selling a business or selling a division or taking on a certain amount of debt, that we say these are the kinds of things that owners reserve as decisions that they're going to make. So we
know the one that the heirs are most excited about, distributions. How much money can I get?
Right. And then for family businesses that have a board, then we have a column for the board, and then a column for the president, and then a column for the marketing VP, and so on. So every role, not necessarily a person's name, but a role, has a column. So then we can look at all of the decisions and say, put a check mark in the box that's created that says this is the decision that's made by the family. This is a decision that's made by the marketing director. And everyone's clear about that.
I think this would be really helpful to see, Leslie. Could we do a simple one today for a relatively small, not complex company before we get larger? So we have a little board here we're going to show, and I think Leslie will talk through it as she's designing it. I'll hold it.
All right. So here, we'll do just a few columns. And so this would be the owners, and this would be the president, and this would be the CFO, So if we look at that, then we say the decision to sell the family business would be an owner's decision. The decision to create a budget might be the president's responsibility and decision making. But he would get some input from the CFO.
So would we write S for support?
So we do actually several letters in this basic one. We do a D for decide. So if you're the one that has the authority to decide, we put a D in the box.
Great.
If we are going to consult someone, then we put a C in the box. So we're going to consult that. And then we give an I for inform. So if the decision is the budget, the president might make the decision, might consult the CFO, and then inform the owners.
That's really helpful.
Right. So that everybody knows that they're going to be in the loop in one way or another.
I think a big one, if we could add this third one, Leslie, is performance evaluations. Where would that go at a family company?
So performance evaluations should be done by everyone.
Yeah.
Owners would be deciding the president's evaluation, and the president would be doing the CFOs and so on. So
could we draw arrows so we know directionally which way they go?
yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
And as Leslie said earlier, these can get more complex than they do by the size of your business. And in their complexity, they actually become simple because it's very easy English, very easy graphically to do what the founder entrepreneur has usually been doing in his or her head the whole time. And that's what makes things like succession, clarity, all tough over time. So you can do this. All you need is a whiteboard, a piece of paper, or a computer.
Right.
So thanks, everyone.
Thank you.